you're selling the NFT space short.
Okay.
I think you're talking I think you're talking about just profile picture NFTs,
Right.
Or less, not really culturally relevant NFTs, right? I think NFT is I think it's a bad rep because of the monkey pictures and the pig pictures and the whatever. And I think there are many types of digital assets as represented by NFTs.
Welcome to the innovation ecosystem. Wei, would you introduce yourself?
Hey, Brad. Hey, everybody. My name is Zhou. I'm the CEO for Coins.PH. We're the largest fiat and crypto wallet here in the Philippines. We want to enable our users to enter Web3 with coins seamlessly, securely. And we want to bring the digital economy, I think, not just to the Philippines, but actually to bring sort of, I think, Philippines to the global stage.
Okay, so Wei, one of the things that I'm really kind of confused about, and maybe you as an American, because you're far more American than me, I heard Tim Cook this morning talk about how Web3 is not the next thing. Augmented reality is the next thing. Web3 is too weird, too strange. And I was kind of scratching my head about it. And I was thinking to myself, when the West seems to be talking about Web3, they seem to be talking about like VR and AR and immersive experiential kind of stuff. But I noticed that when the East talks about Web3, it's an economic conversation. It's about the creation of value. It's about trade. It's not really an immersive VR or AR kind of thing. Somehow it's like Web3 is like this kid in a bitter divorce custody, right? Can you clarify this for me? Does the West really not see it like an economic conversation? Why is this going on? Why is this happening? Why is there this schism?
Yeah, I would put it less as East versus West, more as I think like North versus South.
Okay.
Global North versus more of like global South. I think, my sort of like shortcut when people ask me what is Web3. Is that quick answer is like Web3 pays you.
Right.
That's the big. In Web2 you pay them, right, with your time and with your money,
right?
But with Web3 you can get paid in return, right? With the time and maybe money you spent as a form of investment, you get paid something in return. I think not just as you don't have to be like an influencer to get paid in Web3. I think that's one of the biggest differences. And that dollar amount, maybe in the global North, in countries like the United States, Western Europe, maybe even in China today or Japan and Korea, that dollar amount is insignificant, right? Just as compared to GDP per capita, as what else people can do with their time that they can make more. Maybe they can make more money in the U.S. driving Uber than playing Web3 games, right? But I think in the global South, where the GDP per capita, is less than say $5,000 a year, or you make less than $500 a month, then anything you can do with your spare time to make $5-10 a month extra might make sense, right? And I think that's the sort of the general reference point. I think from a geographical or cultural or just a global perspective. I think the other thing that is very different for I think large global tech companies to understand, especially they operate like, a global monopoly, kind of like Apple does with their app store and everything like that, is, Web3 enables of what I call, the ownership economy. I think that's the really biggest difference. In Web2, big tech owns everything. pretty much, right? Like, all of your pictures that you post on Instagram, all of the social networks you have on Facebook, that's owned by Meta or Facebook,
right?
Or in China, that's all owned by Tencent, right? Or, and if, in the US now you're seeing, if you have like an off day and you say something off the rails that may not connect with mainstream, or offend or be offensive of the certain element. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying then you can get seriously deplatformed, right? And you lose all of your, social media followings, influence, pictures, posts. It's gone, right? And then and we're seeing that taking place not just on social media platforms, but on financial platforms as well now. And I think those things will. I think right now maybe they're just sort of like edge cases. But eventually, they're gonna, it's an edge case until it sort of impacts you or maybe someone around you, right? Like one of the social media posts that's been making the round yesterday was Kanye West wearing a Satoshi Nakamoto hat because he got debanked by JP Morgan. Right? He
has joined the disenfranchised.
I mean, it's why I don't know why he did, why it happened. I'm not going to go into the why of it. I'm more going to sort of like of what, right? Just the fact that institutions can deplatform you from a basically says that, hey, that thing that you think is yours is not yours. Really? Right, and I think that's what Web3 is. Web3 is that, hey, that thing that is yours, yes, it's just like for me, I own a bunch of NFTs. Yes, they're just like stupid ape pictures or penguin pictures or cat or dog pictures, but I own something of cultural relevance that is recorded on a public blockchain tied to my wallet, right? That's mine, right? And it's irrefutable that it's mine, and nobody can take that away from me, right? And hey, if I can use this, because I own this picture, I can use this in different parts of anything, right? And if it generates income from it, I can say, hey, please give me money from the IP that I own, right? And I think that's the biggest difference. I think that if that could apply to JPEG pictures, I mean that could apply to any work of creators, like songs, videos, right? As long because I think that's the I think it's the ownership. Like I think so sort of if it comes down to it, hey, what happens when you can own a piece of the internet instead of just using it on somebody else, or just instead of just like renting somebody else's server space to use it? I think that's the biggest difference. I think that's sort of like the first. Sort of the short answer and the long answer. Yeah.
Following along the line of what you're talking about with the NFTs and things along those lines, I noticed something that I found a little bit strange. Maybe you can clarify it for me. So what I've observed about the creation of value is that the creation of value has, we'll call it, two types of people involved in it, outside of besides the creator, besides the middleman. But the people who make the value are two: the fan, the one who loves the thing and will pay for it, and the speculator. And the speculator doesn't really love the thing. The value doesn't come from the love of the thing. It's their perception that this thing may be considered valuable to
whatever
fans or speculators, right? And so, like when I look at the fine art market, I would say my crude estimation is that most artwork, 2% of it is of the value of that artwork is fan love, and 98% of it is speculator. But at the very least, there has to be that 2% before the speculators can kind of blow it out of proportion. Now I go to NFTs. And I don't see the 2%. Meaning, I see NFTs being created by people who don't really have a fan base per se, or at least not one that I'm really aware of. That the value being created by NFTs is 100% speculator. And it occurs to me, right now, I have no judgment on this. I have no judgment on it. It's not like I consider one bad or one good. I'm simply looking at it sociologically. You know, there are some things that people collect and the value is created mostly by love. And then there are some things that people collect where the value is created mostly by speculation. But NFTs seem to me to be 100% speculation. And that's one of the reasons why it makes so many people uncomfortable, because they're still used to they still want to believe that there's this little 2% of love that's at least sparking the value before at the base of the value. It's it's like when dollars used to be backed by gold, and NFTs are, in this particular case, art is backed by love. But in the case of NFTs, it doesn't look like NFTs are backed by love. It looks like NFTs are backed by speculation. Am I wrong in that?
I think you're selling the NFT space short.
Okay.
I think you're talking I think you're talking about just profile picture NFTs,
right?
Or less, not really culturally relevant NFTs, right? I think NFT is I think it's a bad rep because of the monkey pictures and the pig pictures and the whatever. And I think there are many types of digital assets as represented by NFTs. Obviously, what I've talked about, there are PFPs, profile pictures. There are also gaming assets, right? Those are items that could function in a Web3 game. They're all virtual land.
Right.
And I think eventually, we're starting to seeing it now. There are financial instruments that get manifested in the form of NFTs, right? There's songs that gets music and I think videos and stuff that get manifested in the form of NFTs. Because I think NFTs is a technology that enables for the verification of ownership. I think it for artwork, for whatever, it provides provenance. For artists, for creators, it provides a royalty payment channel for perpetuity. And I think, going back to your comment about, speculators versus real investors, I think, we are in a uncharted territory, I think, in the trading of digital pictures.
Right.
I think I'll leave it at that, right? The world kind of have traded physical pictures, right? Whether they're paintings, baseball cards, collectible things,
right.
StubHub, stamps, right? I mean, humans have collected or traded and traded collectibles, since the beginning of time.
Right.
Right. Things, trinkets, right? You could even say that, like diamonds, gemstones, those are all just, collectibles, right? Humans have traded. Any time a new thing gets into a market, they're obviously going to be speculators, right? And I think in your scenario, the real investors, right, the users or whatever, I think they provide value, right, and the speculators provide liquidity. I think both are essential for a healthy market. And then all we're seeing is just that the world can trade digital pictures for the first time ever. Of course, there's going to be speculative fervor because we're all in this price discovery phase, and we don't know the extent that these digital pictures can drive or generate value, right? But what's really cool is that because of the speculative fervor and because of liquidity and capital and attention, you're seeing people that were doing something else or they're creating for something else that they weren't generating income have figured out a new way to maybe generate additional income or incremental income, side money, whatever it is for themselves, right? And with that, I think you're going to see new ways, I think, for people to create content on top of these digital pictures, right? Or videos or JPEGs, whatever the heck you want to call it, right? And I think that's just cool, right? Just because it's like, for me, I like doing new things. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in crypto. I wouldn't be in Web3, right? I think just the fact that you can trade digital pictures with anybody, anywhere in the world, with a currency called Ethereum or or USDC or whatever, with a currency that, you know, that you don't have to sort of like send globally and pay like FX rates, and you know, you don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. You can do this, right? And then the community is not small. I mean, that's the part that I think is really interesting, is that, you know, community drives value, right? And this community is not small, right? And I think there's a lot of crypto whales that, you know, I thought that these cultural moments are critical in the history of sort of technology. And as a result, maybe some of these artifacts, collectibles, can become the icons when you look at it sort of, you know, posthumously. So I think that's what's really interesting, right? Was it a bubble? Of course it was. Come on. People, were there useless stuff being created and people were paying stupid money for it? Of course it was.
Right.
Right. So,
but see, for me, this is the thing that I'm wondering about, right? Because in the whole history of art and the arts and whatever it is,
I actually think like art is a very, 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 very small segment.
Right.
Because and the challenge of art is that you just don't have enough people on the platform who really either appreciate it or want to appreciate it. So I actually think art is like a very small.
But that's kind of the weird thing, and so maybe you can help me out with that one. And I guess the reason why I dwell to it is because it might be the small one, but it's the one that, in terms of significant, we'll call it value transformation. You're talking about you know, a square of pixels that translates into massive valuation, possibly more so than any other type of NFT. So maybe I gravitate towards that probably more than I should in my evaluation. So I guess what you're really saying is that, you know, maybe stop looking at the bright light and start looking at what's going on around it, because that's the real where the real story is. It's not where the millions. It's not where the millions are being made.
There's a saying in crypto that I think that applies for the NFT and probably for the art market, that like price drives the narrative.
Right.
It's usually the other way around. Narrative leads to price discovery. But in crypto, for some reason, like price is like Bitcoin. People don't really care. Right. Like what Bitcoin is. They don't really use it. They probably don't own any.
Right.
But they'll quote you Bitcoin prices like day in and day out.
It's right. And that's all speculation, right?
And I think it's just people care about price. Right. Because we like to ascribe value to things. And then when we see value that's like out of the mental model that you've been operating in, you go crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you know, like, so I think that's, I think maybe that's just human nature. We're like living in this like ticker tape world. so yeah.
That's very interesting. So tell me, from the perspective of somebody who buys NFTs, what does a mature NFT buyer look like? How are they different from the rest of the market?
I don't know. Like I'm actually relatively conservative in my personal investments. I own some blue chip NFTs because I think just like in crypto, like you would want to speculate maybe the volatile tokens, but then you end up, you know, holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I think probably going to be true in the NFT world as well. Maybe you dabble and you speculate and you mint sort of, you know, the next biggest, hottest thing, but then ultimately maybe you hold on to that ape, which is what I own.
So well, I'm gonna ask this way. I'll take the ape for a moment.
Yeah.
Did you buy it? If I was gonna like pie chart it, what percentage of that pie chart was I bought it because I love it, and what percentage of it was I bought it because I see it as a blue chip investment or like an investment?
I bought it to use as my profile picture.
So you love it.
I love it. Yeah. I went through hundreds of apes and I picked the one that I liked.
I understand.
Yeah, I wanted a decision. A, do I want to buy an ape? 2, which ape do I want to buy?
Right. So really, for you, when you
and the last one, which ape can I afford?
Right. Well, yeah. There is that part of it, but it's really a fandom thing for you.
Yeah, it is.
That's honestly that's very reassuring.
And
to
if you
hear,
talk to most ape owners, they'll give you the similar answer.
Because there's a great. I mean, when you read a lot of content about that sort of stuff, you can sort of feel in the background where they're saying it's all speculator. There's no fandom inside of it, because I mean, I think that's the bottom line. It's fandom that creates value, right? It's fandom that it's at the root of value generation. If there's no fan for it, if there's no fan for it, there is no value for it. Whatever the speculators distorted or manipulated to be, that is and it's still at the core of it. So the question that I would ask is this, because I think that sometimes, Filipino artists and creators and designers and people like that, they get confused, right? What advice would you give to Filipino artists and creators about that are considering going into making NFTs?
I would say taper your expectation. Yeah, I don't think you go into something thinking this is a get rich overnight get rich kind of a story. I think just because there are outliers in the market doesn't mean that. I think just because there are outliers in their stories, does that mean that it's true for everybody in this space? I think this is a space that requires you to hustle and to work hard, just like every other space you're in. It's just that your audience is not your local surrounding. Your audience is potentially a much larger online community that is highly engaged, very smart, and have both time and maybe money as well. But the hustle is just as important.
Got it. Wei, thank you very much. That was a very interesting interview.
Cool. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you so much.